Welcome to Creation Station Weekly. I'm Bob from Creation Station. This is our weekly show where we grab somebody from the library system, get together, talk about 2 to 3 tech topics, come up with something fun and cool from the library system, and send you on your way, hopefully better informed and ready to go with things. This week, I have Sheldon Burke from Creation Station Business at Main Library. How are you doing today, Sheldon?
I'm doing great.
It's good to have you here this time. I like the stories that you managed to go out there and pick and find, and I really want to talk about your library thing because it's a really cool subject that the library's got going on. So I'm going to dive right into our quick stories here to get started. I'm going to bring up my browser to share with everybody. The first story for the week was all about putting science up at the White House. In case anybody didn't know this, we have never had a science advisor position officially at the White House level, at the cabinet level. So the new administration is doing this for the first time. And once this is done, this will be everyone going forward. Democratic, Republican presidents going forward will all be able to nominate somebody for this position. And it will be someone in charge of making sure that there is science. The official job title is going to be, I lost it. I had it up on the screen and then I lost it. It's just called, they're only going to be calling it the science advisor. Have you ever heard of these people before, Sheldon? Do you remember?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of them. I looked them up just in case, see if there's any backstory to them, but no, I mean, could you inform me?
No, that's what I'm pointing out. We have had these people there advising the president, advising people like that over the last 20 years, but none of us ever knew their names. None of us ever knew what they were doing because it wasn't an elevated position. And so now this is going to be someone who has to go before Congress and go have a hearing and be out there in front of the American public so we all know what's going on and who's actually making the advice, giving the advice for the president, which I think is a really cool thing.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point to bring it out into the air. I just thought it was just like, oh, well, no one's been advising them before, but you raise a good point that this is about transparency as well.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea of being able to get that out there and find out who and see what happens to it. And it's science. It's maybe it is rocket science. Ha! Never mind. It's a really horrible dad joke. Sorry. But the other cool story this week is Wikipedia is 20 years old. And everybody here should have used Wikipedia by now. And it is way beyond what I think pretty much anybody had ever envisioned. And it does actually need to be cited a lot of times now. And there's some really amazing stuff. But one of the reasons I brought it up, two reasons. One, I hadn't known this, Sheldon, that this was actually a side project from the company. It was originally called Newpedia. It was put out back in the old. Idea. Yeah, neither did I until I found the research for this. And it was they were putting it out at the same time that they were putting out those encyclopedias on CD-ROMs. And these guys 20 years ago were trying to compete with that. And they only got 21 articles done in their first year.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger now, isn't it?
Yeah, they managed to get
million, I think.
Yeah, they got 18,000 articles done on Wikipedia in the first year by switching to a crowdsourced model like this and that. And yeah, now it's insane. There's over 1.7 billion users a month there now. Visitors, I guess visitors and users are equivalent in this case. There's not that many editors, but it is rated as one of the top 13 most relevant websites nowadays.
I would say even more, actually. I mean,
yeah, it's kind of interesting, isn't it?
I love the transformation because when it first came out, teachers were like, "Don't you ever cite this paper?" And now, pretty much, they're just like, "Well, if you go to the bottom, you go to the links, and you take the links, then it's totally fine."
See, it's what the librarians have been saying all along. Use your original research. Go follow those links and do that. If you have not been to Wikipedia in a while, I highly encourage you, come visit, come do some stuff. Even if you just want to mess around for a minute, I brought it up on the screen here for everybody. On the far left in the main menu here is something called random article. Just click on that link once It's a Gleim, Gleim. How do you think that's supposed to be pronounced?
Glimey? I don't
Gleime?
know.
I don't
I don't
know.
know.
It's someone in Korea. He is a hip hop star in Korea
I mean, and I
from
like K.
2009 to now.
Oh, I'm a K-pop fan, but I've never heard of her.
Yeah,
Gotta look into
I
this.
have I have no idea. Let's click again just real quick before we jump onto our next topic. Here we go. American cell biologists. There you go. So you can always just find these really interesting articles out there. If I actually do get bored or I need to stop my doom scrolling on Twitter or whatever, this is what I will do is just to give me a bit of a change. I will just grab Wikipedia and grab me a random article and then start diving into some of the resources and figure out what's
Oh,
going on.
the one article I do like, I forget the official name of it. There's like a whole timeline of what happens to the universe millions and millions and billions of years in the future. And it reminded me of a book that I just finished, actually. I guess I can name drop a book. This isn't
Sure,
like
yes, of
we're gonna
course.
soon. It's The End of Everything, Astrophysically Speaking. It came out
Oh,
this year,
yes.
and it's a great book.
She is, and she's a very fun author too.
Yeah.
I follow her. I think I found it here for you, The Chronology of the Universe.
Yes, it might be
Maybe
this.
not be.
I don't know if it's this. It's it might be. I don't know what it looks like from the top. I just do it every year, but yeah, this is it.
Being able
This
to
is
just
it.
go through and do and see, look at this. All of a sudden, we're all now. Wait, we got to go back to the show because we'll just stay on Wikipedia for hours and hours and hours. The other article that I found out there that I thought was really relevant for talking about with what's going on in the world today is here. Motherboard put this out this week. There is a new law in Australia that has been proposed for Google and Facebook. It's technically not called the Google and Facebook law, even though everybody is referring to it that way. It's a law that's written just to cover certain multi-billion dollar companies that have multi-million dollar followers that connect to all the citizens of Australia through the internet. So it's really well tailored down to highlight only two companies that exist in the world right now. Um, Basically, the news is all about trying to get them to pay for taking news sites and linking how the internet works, like we just did with Wikipedia. You just link to this and you link to that. Well, that's how Google and Facebook make all their money. And this law tries to put a tax, so to speak, on that, so that if you're going to link from a place to another place, they want you to pay the original publishers of that information in Australia.
So it wasn't clear to me from the article, is this people on Facebook sharing or is this the company themselves?
The company themselves, the companies
Okay, now
themselves sharing it
that
out on
makes
their news
sense.
feeds or doing those things. So, for example, if you're going to be in Google and you go to Google News and you click on that link there,
Hmm.
the Australian government is saying is by trying to pass this law is saying that Google should pay that original publisher, the Sydney Times, to make up a newspaper, um, to they have to pay Sydney Times a fee to link to their article.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, you're adding some value to Google
Yeah.
having the
And,
article there.
yeah. And so it's one of those things now. And this happened before. And the EU and Spain passed this law 2 years ago. And in response, what Google did was they just stopped showing news from Spain. So if you're in
Okay.
Spain and you go to Google News, you cannot find any news on Google News from the local Spanish media. You can only
I
get it
didn't
from
know that.
outside sources. Yeah, it's really, and part of it is because of this. We've had this in the news about how big are these media companies and what
Hmm.
rights do they have. And, I personally say we've crossed that line a while ago. They are, multinational companies on their own nowadays. Um, in fact, this article had the reason I highlighted this one article in Australia in 2018 for every $100 spent by advertisers, including print, including online, including everything, $73 of it went just to Google and Facebook.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
73% of all advertising dollars going to two companies that aren't even headquartered in your own country and you have no control over. You kind of see where people get upset with this kind of stuff.
yeah, they're ginormous. I mean,
Yeah.
there could be an argument to break them up. I mean, well, a pretty sound argument, but then I don't know where that leads. I mean, didn't they try something like that with Microsoft in the 90s?
They did. That was the big Microsoft challenge, and that's what they're actually suing Facebook over now. The Department of Justice has got a lawsuit against Facebook.
Mhm.
That they'll be proceeding over. Many years ago, Microsoft went through the same similar kind of lawsuit, and that's how they ended up having to take Internet Explorer and separating it out from the operating system.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why we have Chrome and Firefox and Mozilla and all these. The Mozilla Corporation puts out a couple of different browsers
Yeah.
um, that can do all these things now.
Which is ironic because
Um,
I believe there's an antitrust lawsuit against Google for having Chrome. I think
yes,
Chrome was cited. Yeah.
that's one of the things that they're talking about now is having Alphabet having to
Mhm.
separate out Chrome from the rest of the company and things like this and all these controls, which is where all of these things, all how we've built our whole economy over the last 20 years is now going to radically change over these next 5 to 10 years as people start reassessing where they want and who, what powers and GDPR from the EU with the rights to your own privacy and your own your right to your own data stuff and things like that. It's going to be really interesting and fun.
It is. It would be nice to break up Fang. That's financial for Facebook, Amazon,
Hmm.
Netflix, and Google.
I'm not so certain about Amazon how you break it up much.
I don't know how you do. AWS is a little too big on its own.
Well, I think that the problem is how do you run Amazon without running AWS?
I don't know. That's a good
That's
point.
why AWS exists is because they built it to run their own platform on. So yeah, I can see. I mean, I can see where you want to restrain Amazon from buying other retailers at this
Mhm.
point. Just like you want to restrain one that totally unrelated to this. But earlier this month, Plaid and Visa were going to merge. That was turned down because they thought it would be too big of a company controlling too much of the fintech financial technology companies going back and forth. So yeah, this is just something that's going to keep coming up in the news again and again and again for us all. So it's kind of interesting. Just pay attention to this in the back of your head of like, why are these certain companies always being mentioned? It's because they own 73% of the market. And once you get that big, it's kind of hard to start up a small company and compete against them.
Yeah, it might be even more for me. I don't even have cable.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be just in case. But that's actually the story you brought kind of ties right back into this. So tell us about what this one was that started up here for us.
Okay, so it's a little bit hard to describe because it gets a little technical. So what had happened is that GameStop was on the edge of bankruptcy. Their shares were about $4 a share, and a lot of big institutions were hoping that they would fail by shorting them. Now, when you short, what happens is you borrow shares from someone else and you hope that the price will fall so that you buy it at that cheaper price and then return it to the original person and pocket the difference. Essentially, I buy
Yeah.
a phone from Bob. I mean, borrow Bob's phone and I see a deal, I get it cheaper, and I give Bob back the phone. Essentially, what's going on here. So, what Reddit decided to do was no, that's not going to
And
happen.
Reddit,
Instead of
yeah. So,
falling, oh, yeah,
yeah.
go.
So just for anybody who doesn't know, Reddit is another social media company that's out there.
Mhm.
And they like to think of themselves as the front page of the internet, as a place where you can go for all sorts of communities all over the place
Yes.
to do things. They actually are a competitor for Facebook in that community sense. So go on, go back to telling what this group
Yes.
of people did.
So Wall Street Bets is the subforum in Reddit. There are many subforums for many things, and they make risky bets. They decided what they're going to do is instead of having this company go bankrupt, because these crooks or these people who are betting against the company, what they're going to do is pump the price of the stock up. And when it goes up, the people who are holding the shorts, the ones who are hoping that it falls, they now have to buy that share to give back to the person they originally borrowed it from. So instead of getting it at a cheaper price and giving it back to Bob, I now have to take it at a loss and buy it at a more expensive price and give it to Bob at a loss. Because every single day I'm paying an interest on that as well. So now there's this great battle happening between retail investors on Reddit. These are everyday people and institutes who want to drop down. So that is what's playing out right now. And actually, the retail investors are winning again. It's been hovering at 38 all week, and it's actually ending at 43.9 right now. So if you're an institution, you are losing a lot of money because of these people.
And to be clear, I mean, when we're talking about institutions here, we're not talking about mom and pop people or the generic person who has something invested in the stock market. We're really talking venture capitalist people. Mm-hmm. We're talking about people who are buying up companies to strip them down, sell off the debt, and stuff like that. These are not people who are in there to buy GameStop because they think it's a going business and they want to invest in it like you would in a Microsoft, etc.
Lost in there is that there is a new CEO of GameStop. It's the co-founder of Chewy.
Yes.
Which I believe Chewy's somehow related to Broward. Are they?
Yeah, Chewy started here in Broward County.
Yeah.
They were actually out of Coconut Creek.
Yeah. So the hope, actually, the long-term hope is that GameStop will be turned into like a digital gaming center instead of just being a brick and mortar physical game store. So there is a long-term story as well for this.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting that if you can get that crowdsourcing, that group of people together that really is interested in a topic and really interested in whether it's our first story on Wikipedia or whether it's about trying to solve, however else you're going to do it. This right here of group of people on Reddit are like, no, this is a valuable company to us for our own reasons. We want to see it survive, and we're not going to let these people come in and strip out whatever value is still there. So yeah, reading this article where it went from $4 and you said today was 70. Is that what you said earlier?
No, it went from $4 to 43. Sorry about my phone.
43. Gotcha.
It's at 43, which is, I believe in the last month, it went up 15,000. Sorry, not 15,000, 1,500% in the last month alone.
And that's just crazy how you can send these swings back and forth like this when you get more money invested and you get out doing all these things.
And it could possibly go a lot higher. What could happen is a short squeeze as people who shorted it have to buy back. They have to buy back at whatever price it is. And that will keep raising it up, which is what's happening right now.
Interesting.
I know, it's fascinating.
Folks, if you were questioning why in the world does Sheldon Burke know all this stuff about this, that's because Sheldon is head of our Creation Station business here at Maine Library, which is a big incubator for small businesses and entrepreneurs to come in and do. Sheldon, tell everybody more about what you guys have been doing there at Creation Station Business.
Creation Station Business is a free co-working space. What we do is we partner with a lot of people in the community to do referrals. We have free working space, and we do a lot of workshops, especially now with the pandemic. We're doing a lot of virtual programs. And one of the things we're really focused on is Built in Broward, which is a year-long program where we're getting funding from Google and the American Library Association to help bring equity to tech by giving affordable tech workshops and cohorts. And in fact, one of our programs is tonight, actually. If you get to see it tonight, it's the Instagram Masterclass. These classes are done by General Assembly. They're typically 100 to 150 per person, but we are covering the cost for anyone who wants to attend.
Free from the library, folks. Come on, How much better does it get than that, right?
Seriously. And you can always follow along with our progress at www.builtinbroward.com.
That is great. Thank you so much, Sheldon, for that. Let me stop that screen up there for a minute. Thank you very much for coming by today. It's always fun getting a chance to talk to all the different librarians that we have here in the county.
It is. We have different interests.
Done some really fun things up here. And Creation Station Business is one of those places in the library that is open for the public again. Now that we've had the public coming back in, you can still come in and use it for its original purpose. Still all the safe distancing stuff. and the classes are not in person yet. But as Sheldon was just talking about, you can do some amazing classes there without having to worry about coming in and getting sick. Just stay at home and do it. Be
Seriously.
safe, everybody, right?
And it's free.
Yeah, it is just, it's a great, great thing. Well, thank you very much, Sir Sheldon, for being here today with us. Again, everybody, Creation Station Weekly, this will be in your feeds every week. If you have a question, problem, idea, solutions for us, or you just tell us, hey, I want to see this person from my branch up on the show, creationstation@broward.org comes right to us. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great
Thank you.
weekend.